Contact in space is one of the most underdeveloped skills in football, from youth football to the NFL, and it's largely because most players play out of control. And football is a game of control, but you cannot control another player if you're not first in control of yourself. So we're going to talk about a concept called come to balance, which is really the act of going from a two-point coil or a pre-contact position stance to a sprint and back to the two-point coil position in right moments before contact occurs. Come to balance is a universal concept for players of all positions and any form of contact. So whether that's blocking, defeating blocks, or tackling another player across the line of scrimmage from depth. So that's what we're going to want to talk about right now, is come to balance. So how do we do that with the greatest degree of control to ensure maximum success and safety on the field? Starting from a two-point position, let's just say a player's running in space. As we start from a sprint, the strides are going to be a little bit longer, right? They're going to start long because you're trying to gain as much ground as possible. And as you approach your opponent, the base will start to widen. And we talked about the two-point coil position. That's a pretty wide base, a triangular base. We're going to work ourselves back to that position. So as a player is sprinting, he's taking long linear strides, and as his contact approaches, he's going to start to widen that base, taking shorter, tighter steps to get back to that two-point coil position in the moments just prior to impact. As players are sprinting toward their opponent, you're going to have a forward body lean, obviously, as you're sprinting, because you got that. You're trying to gain as much ground as possible in the sprinter stance. But as you get closer to contact, your hips are actually going to start to come underneath your body, going to settle in underneath your body, so you can end in that two-point coil position. One major component that we want to talk about is that we want to bring our hands in front of our body. So you'll see players, they get caught because they're running, they're coming to balance, and their hands are stuck here wide, and they get stuck by an opponent with their hands first. We want to be in protect, we want to have our hands in guard, which we covered in the previous segment. As contact grows closer, you want to make sure your hands, as you're running from a sprint, you're widening your base, your hands come in front. So now you're in a place that you can deliver contact with the hands, but also protect your chest. The next concept we want to talk about, and we mentioned in the blast video, it's one of the principles of contact, is to triangulate or to attack opponents off of their center line. In football, we don't want to attack a man down the midline. That's where he's strongest. It's really hard to disrupt the player when you're hitting him right down the middle. It's not the safest way, and it's also probably the most ineffective way. You're also compromising some scheme there, because in football, offensive players have a defined entry of the ball where the ball is designed to run. So offensive blockers want to take an advantage, which means to attack a defender on a side, to a particular side, based on the entry of the ball. Defenders also have a gap responsibility. So that means they're not going to attack a man down the midline. They have to usually play a gap. So that means we're going to offset our body slightly or triangulate in the moments just leading up to impact. Okay, so if I'm attacking Mike, let's say I'm blocking Mike, and the ball is going to my left-hand side. So, well, I don't want to attack Mike down the middle, okay? I've come to balance, okay? If I come to balance here, Mike might have the outside gap, and he attacks me here. Well, I'm not going to get my job done, so I need to offset my body slightly, all right? So what we're going to talk about doing is put my nose to Mike's ear, just as we offset our body slightly, okay? So if I'm coming to balance and I'm offsetting my body here, my nose is in line with Mike's ear, and that puts me in a good position to triangulate and to be more powerful at the point of impact, but also to achieve my job. Now that's the same for defensive players. If I'm a defensive player, and let's say Mike wants to run the ball this way and he's trying to take this side, get the ball past me, I have to control my gap to my left. So I'm going to do the same thing as I offset my body as Mike approaches. Boom. Okay, my nose is in line with Mike's ear. I've triangulated, I'm in great position, I've maintained leverage defensively, and I'm in the best position to fit Mike with the most degree of power and control.